He gave up his last meal for starving alien kids now. She calls him their chosen leader asterisk. The wind on Navis didn't howl. It scraped gnawed at the bones with icy fingers, dragging frost to the labor district like a hungry ghost. It clung to the breath of every worker and needled into the cracks of prefab buildings. Jason Thorne kept his collar high and his eyes low as he walked the broken path that passed for a street, his boots crunching over frozen slush. The warmth of the stew container in his gloved hand was fading fast, and so was his appetite. He'd earned that meal 14 hours, repairing heat pumps in the southern subsector, but he didn't crave it. Not like he once would have. These days, his stomach was more of a dull ache than a need. Hunger was constant here. It had become part of the weather. Jason turned down a narrow alley called the Hollow by the locals. It was quieter here, quieter and colder. Wind walls didn't reach this far, and the buildings leaned like drunks trying to stay upright. He came here sometimes, not for trouble, not for kindness either, just to see what people looked like when the system forgot them. And then he saw them, 5 of them, huddled beneath a broken awning layered in frost. Children, Navians. Their skin, normally a vibrant blue, had dulled to something near gray. Their thin, spindly limbs were wrapped in tattered synth fiber rags that did little to fight the cold. They were small, frighteningly so. One of them, a girl with deep indigo eyes, clutched a younger sibling to her chest, shielding him with her own trembling body. Jason stopped. He looked down at the container in his hand protein stew, probably reconstituted from something unrecognizable. Still, it was warm. Still, it was food. His stomach protested, a low growl in the silence. One of the children noticed him. They all stiffened. The oldest girl, maybe 8, shifted her stance. Not aggressively, just bracing. Jason stepped forward slowly, lifting the container a little. I thought you might be hungry. Silence stretched between them, brittle as the frost on the wall behind him. The girl's eyes flicked between his face and the container. That's your food, she said softly. Her basic was clear, with only the barest trace of an accent. We're not allowed. Jason crouched, setting the container on the ground and backing away 2 steps. Who says? The girl hesitated, then slowly reached for it. Her hands were so small. She removed the lid carefully, as if expecting it to vanish. Steam curled up into the air like a promise. The others watched her. No one moved until she gave a single nod. Then they descended gently, sharing with reverence. No grabbing, no pushing. Just quiet, desperate need. Jason turned to go, but a presence stopped him. Not sound, not movement. Just presence. He glanced sideways. A figure stood half concealed in the doorway across the alley. Female. Tall. Skin. A color of twilight. Hair white as snow and falling past her shoulders like a waterfall of silk. Her eyes were sharp, watching not with suspicion, but something deeper. Calculation. Curiosity. Jason met her gaze briefly. She didn't speak. Then, as if she'd never been there at all, she vanished into the shadows. He frowned and turned back toward the main street, but a voice stopped him. You shouldn't linger here, came the same woman's voice. Calm, measured. From behind him now, Jason turned slowly, brow raised. You always sneak up on people like that? Only the ones who feed starving children when no one else bothers. She stepped fully into the pale light. Her posture was regal, but not stiff. Her tone respectful, but layered. Jason studied her. I didn't do it for applause. No, that's why it matters. The silence between them was different now. He waited. You've drawn attention, she said finally. Pox's enforcers are watching you. They don't like symbols. And right now, you're becoming one. Jason sighed. All I did was give up dinner. Exactly. He squinted at her. You work for them? No, she replied, voice cooling. I work against them. Come with me. You've crossed a line, whether you meant to or not. Jason hesitated, then nodded once. He followed her into the dark. The alleys twisted like veins beneath the city, narrowing until Jason could no longer see the sky. The woman led him without hesitation, her bare feet silent on the frost-slick stone, the hem of her simple robe barely brushing the ground. She moved like someone who knew every crack, every echo. Name's Jason, he offered, his breath fogging in the cold. I know, she replied without looking back. You got a name too, or do I call you Ghost in the alley? That earned him a glance over her shoulder, amused, perhaps, but wary. Lacey. Unusual name for a Navyian, Jason thought. Or maybe not. He didn't know their customs. Didn't know much of anything these days, except how to fix broken machines. And keep his head down. But here he was, following a strange woman into the bowels of a dying city. Again, they reached what looked like a solid wall. Lacey placed her hand against a seam that wasn't obvious until she touched it. A faint hum. Then the stone hissed open, revealing a narrow passage lit with soft golden glow strips. Inside. Quickly, Jason ducked through. The moment he stepped over the threshold, warmth hit him, real warmth, not the illusion his jacket had tried to provide. The air smelled faintly of herbs, heated metal, and something savory. Life. It smelled like life. The tunnel widened into a cavernous chamber, carved from natural rock. Dozens of Navians moved about inside, some carrying crates, others tending to cooking fires or mending clothing. Children played in a corner, their laughter a delicate sound against the quiet hum of activity. They all stopped when they saw. Eyes tracked him. Mistrust, curiosity, a few whispers. He's with me, Lacey said simply, and the tension eased. Slightly, an elderly Navyian approached tall, cloaked in thick robes that shimmered with old authority. His skin was a deeper blue than Lacey's, hair braided and streaked with silver. His eyes held no fear, just weariness and wisdom. Lacey, this is the human you spoke of? Jason offered a nod. Jason Thorne, mechanic, nothing special. The elder studied him. Then his lined face cracked into a smile. You gave food to our children. That makes you special enough. This is Eldon, Lacey said quietly beside him. He led this movement before Pox made resistance illegal. I just kept people alive, Eldon corrected. You're the one who turned survival into something with purpose. Jason listened in silence as the two exchanged glances, old comrades, perhaps, or mentor and pupil. He didn't belong here, not really. And yet, something about this place, this undercity of defiance, felt right. Like a gear finally clicking into place. We have a problem, Lacey told Eldon. Pox's forces have taken notice of Jason. His act of kindness stirred more than sympathy. It stirred questions. And Pox can't afford questions. Eldon grunted. They'll come after him. Jason shrugged. Let them. I'm not hard to find. That's the problem, Lacey said, turning to him. You don't understand the weight of what you did. You broke the illusion Pox relies on, that everyone must hoard, that kindness is weakness. You gave them hope. Jason ran a hand over his stubbled jaw. I didn't plan to start a rebellion. I just saw hungry kids. And sometimes, Eldon said gently, that's how the best rebellions begin. Lacey led him deeper into the sanctuary, toward a small kitchen where a Navyian woman stirred a massive pot of thick stew. The smell hit him like a punch in the gut. I already gave up my dinner, Jason said, raising a brow. You'll eat here, Lacey said. We share what we have. It's our law. The woman handed him a bowl without a word. Jason hesitated, and took it. He sat in a corner, watching the community move like a single organism. Efficient, quiet, resilient. Lacey joined him after a moment. "You don't talk much," Jason shrugged. "Never saw the point. And yet you speak through." "Action," he didn't reply. But he noticed the way she looked at him, curious, thoughtful, not worshipful like the kids, not cautious like the others, just seeing him. After he ate, they spoke about the food shortages, about the warehouse Jason had once helped install security in. He told her about the blind spots in the patrol schedules, the flaws in the sensor grid. By the time their conversation ended, the outlines of a plan had taken shape. "A dangerous one." "You're serious," Jason said, leaning back. "You want to break into Warehouse 6? "It's not theft," Lacey said. "It's reclaiming what was stolen from us," Jason considered. "We'll need a cart, disruptor gear, and I'll have to check if my access codes still work." Lacey's eyes gleamed. "You're in." He looked at her, really looked. Not the exotic blue skin or elegant features. Not the alienness, but the determination. The fire. "You saved me once already," he said. She smiled faintly. "Then maybe you'll return the favor." And somewhere deep in the sanctuary, behind, stone walls and secret lights, a revolution began with a bowl of stew and two people who chose to stop surviving and start fighting. Asterisk. Warehouse 6 loomed like a sleeping beast at the edge of the Eastern District, ugly, reinforced, and quiet. Too quiet. Its thick metal walls reflected the pale light from the twin moons above, casting eerie shadows across the snow-covered streets. Jason crouched behind a crumbling support pillar, eyes fixed on the patrol route. "Still 2 guards by the main entrance," he murmured. Lacey crouched beside him, calm and poised, her breath misting in the cold. "And the perimeter?" Jason checked the lens of his scavenged infrared monocle. "1 patrolling west, but there's a blind spot on the northeast corner near the maintenance hatch. If we time it right, we can slip in." Behind them, Eldon and 2 other resistance fighters. Trick, a scar-faced ex-dock worker, and Yessa, sharp-eyed girl no older than 20, waited with a repurposed hovercart, its engine silenced to avoid detection. "We move on my signal," Jason said. "Lacey and I will get inside, disable the interior sensors. Once we do, bring the cart to loading bay C. That's where they stash the dry food packs and thermal gear." Eldon nodded. "You sure your codes still work?" "Nope," Jason replied with a half-smile. "But improvising is a human specialty." Lacey smirked faintly at that. "Let's hope you're as good at it as you claim." They moved. Like ghosts, Jason and Lacey darted through the blind spot and reached the side hatch. Jason pressed his hand to the biometric scanner and held his breath. A soft click. The door slid open. He let out a quiet sigh. Still got it. Inside, the warehouse was silent. Dim overhead lights glowed faintly across rows of crates, hundreds of them. Jason led the way toward the security hub, his boots crunching on the frost-layered floor. The console room was small, sterile, a relic of corporate efficiency. He plugged in a bypass tool and began overriding the motion grid. "These systems haven't been updated in months," he muttered. "Typical bureaucrats." Lacey stood watch, her stutter held low but ready. "We'll have maybe 15 minutes before the outer patrols notice anything's off. Then let's make them count." Outside, the team pushed the hover cart into the loading bay as Jason and Lacey joined them. The crates were clearly marked nutrient bricks, heat blankets, clean water cartridges. Everything the people below desperately needed. This could feed half the city. Yessa whispered. "Then let's move fast," Jason said, cracking open crates and passing supplies down as they worked. Lacey's eyes were drawn to a sealed door above the warehouse floor. An office, larger than needed. She tapped Jason's arm. "That room. It looks like a command center." Jason followed her gaze. Could be inventory, maybe maps. Let's check it out. The door wasn't locked. Inside, the space was lavish and obscene contrast to the squalor outside. Plush chairs, holographic art, a polished desk with a built-in terminal still running idle. Jason immediately began downloading files onto a portable drive. Lacey, meanwhile, scanned the shelves and datapads. Her fingers froze over one, in particular, a silver-edged tablet bearing the crest of Helios Extraction Corp. Jason, her voice was thin. He looked over. What is it? She tapped the screen. A 3D schematic flickered to life between them, massive subterranean drills, pressure maps, and an animation of planetary degradation timelines. That's deep core mining tech, Jason said, eyes narrowing. Designed for total extraction. Once this operation starts, the planet's biosphere collapses in less than 5 years. Lacey's expression paled. They're going to kill Namis. Another file opened beside it, contracts signed between Governor Pox and Helios executives. Jason skimmed the details, his breath catching. Scheduled evacuation for high-tier personnel only. Elite families, corporate officers. No mention of civilians. They were never going to share their resources, Lacey whispered. This was never about survival. It was always about profit. Jason's jaw tightened. We need to show this to everyone. Broadcast it. As he finished the download, a shout from below broke the moment. Enforcers! Trick's voice. Jason raced to the window. A full squad, at least a dozen, had breached the front gates, weapons raised. Eldon and the others had taken cover, but they were outgunned and surrounded. We need a distraction, Lacey said, scanning the room. Jason's eyes fell on the environmental controls. Fire suppression. He raced to the panel and triggered the emergency override. Moments later, alarms shrieked through the building, and thick white foam blasted from ceiling vents, dousing crates and creating instant chaos. Go! He yelled. We'll meet at the fallback point. Lacey and Jason sprinted down to the loading bay, dodging foam blasts and confused guards. As Trick and Eldon pushed the hovercart toward the maintenance exit, a voice rang out from the shadows. Stop right there, human. Jason spun, heart pounding. A tall Navyian male stepped into view, flanked by elite guards. He was elegant, dangerous draped, in ceremonial black with a crest of gold across his chest. Commander Vex, Lacey hissed, Pox's right hand. Vex's smile was cold. You think you can steal from us and get away? A human thief and a traitor whore. Jason stepped forward, placing himself between Lacey and the commander. We're not stealing. We're taking back what belongs to the people. Vex chuckled. You speak like a leader. Is that what you think you are, Earthman? Before Jason could answer, Lacey acted. Her stunner flared, striking Vex square in the chest. He convulsed, stumbled, then one of the guards fired blindly, nearly hitting Jason. Move! Lacey shouted, grabbing his arm. They bolted through the rear exit into the frozen night, hovercart in tow. Behind them, chaos reigned, but Jason had the truth in his hand, now the proof of betrayal, genocide, and corporate collusion. And soon the people would have it too. Asterisk, the sanctuary pulsed with tension. The stolen crates had been hidden. Supplies distributed. Children fed. But no one was resting. Not really. Not with the knowledge Jason and Lacey now carried burning through the underground corridors like wildfire. The people of Navis were still unaware their lives were being sold off, that Governor Pax planned to drain the planet dry and abandon them to die. Jason paced the corridor outside the war room, the datapad clutched in one hand like a weapon. Lacey stepped beside him. She didn't speak, not at first. Her presence was enough to settle the air. You've read it 3 times, she said gently. And I still don't believe it, Jason muttered. Evacuate the elites. Leave the rest behind. And the company Terra Nova my people. They're part of it. Not all of them, Lacey said. You said you knew someone you could trust. Jason nodded. Dr. Elaine Clay. She recruited me. She's a scientist, not a corporate shark. If anyone has a conscience left inside Terra Nova, it's her. He activated a salvaged communication terminal, fingers flying over the interface. It took minutes, agonizing, static-filled minutes. But then a familiar face appeared. Jason? Doctor. Clay blinked in disbelief. Where the hell have you been? The company listed you as a WOL weeks ago. I've been busy learning what Terra Nova's really doing on Navis, Jason replied coldly. Are you alone? She checked over her shoulder. Now I am. Talk. Jason held up the datapad. Helios. Deep core mining. Pox. Evacuation plans. Mass extinction. All of it's here. Dr. Clay's expression changed. She didn't deny it. She didn't try to cover. She just looked tired. Damn it, she whispered. I knew Hayes was hiding something, but this. So it's true? It is, she said. But the board's divided. Half of us have been trying to get evidence like this for months. If you send me that file, I can force a vote. Maybe even trigger a federal inquiry. Jason looked to Lacey, who gave a single nod. You'll have it in 10 seconds, he said. As the upload began, Lacey pulled him aside. We can't wait for Terra Nova. Even if they shut Pox down, the people won't believe it unless they see it with their own eyes. They need to hear it from you. Jason understood. Broadcast tower? Lacey nodded. We've accessed the emergency override before. It reaches every home, every screen, but it's heavily guarded. Jason turned to Eldon, who had joined them silently. Can we reach it? The elder nodded. There's a tunnel that runs beneath the communications complex. We used it to escape once. We can use it to take the tower. Then we don't wait, Jason said. Tonight, the people of Navis get the truth. The tunnels beneath the city were narrower now, partially collapsed in some places. The team moved in silence. Lacey, Jason, Eldon, and Trick leading a small group of resistance fighters through the dark. Above, the city was tense. Rumors of unrest were spreading. Enforcer patrols doubled. Food rations halved. Pox was tightening his grip. They emerged beneath the tower as the eastern sky began to lighten. One final checkpoint stood between them and the broadcast room. I'll handle the guard, Lacey whispered. Before Jason could object, she slipped into the corridor and stunned the lone sentry without a sound. When she returned, she was already inputting the security code to the upper level. Jason blinked at her. Do you always have a plan for everything? She smiled faintly. You inspire good preparation. They reached the control room moments later. Screens lined every wall, broadcasting government propaganda and Pox's droning speeches on sacrifice and unity. Jason plugged the datapad into the master console. Lacey began overriding the signal loop. Once I activate this, she said, every screen, and public system on the planet will show your message. We only get one shot. Jason stared at the blinking cursor. He thought of the orphans in the hollow, of Era's shivering hands, of the sanctuary children learning to smile again. He thought of Lacey, standing beside him now, her people depending on Hope, and he spoke. My name is Jason Thorne. I'm not from Navis. I'm human. And for most of my life, I've kept my head down and done what I was told. But a few days ago, I gave a bowl of food to a group of starving children. And that act showed me a truth I can't ignore. Your leaders are lying to you. Governor Pox isn't trying to save Navis. He's selling it to Helios Extraction Corporation. The contract is real. We've seen it. He plans to evacuate the elite and leave the rest of you to die when the mining begins. This is not sacrifice. This is betrayal. But there's still time to fight, to rise. You are not helpless. You are not alone. The resistance is real, and we stand with you. Lacey activated the signal. Every screen on Novice flickered, then changed. Pox's image vanished. Jason's face replaced a dot in the city center, in homes, in labor compounds and schools. The truth spread like wildfire. Back in the tower, alarms blared. Company, Trick warned. The door slid open, and Commander Vex stepped inside with 4 armed enforcers. His face was twisted with rage. You, Jason stood calm. It's over. Everyone knows. Vex laughed, drawing his weapon. Then they'll die knowing. Shots rang out. Jason tackled Lacey behind the console as blaster fire lit up the room. Sparks flew. The mainframe burned. But the signal had gone out. I've got an idea, Lacey yelled, spotting a maintenance shaft behind a wall panel. Jason covered her as she pried it open. Hurry, this place won't hold. As she crawled into the shaft, Vex lunged, grabbing Jason's leg. You won't ruin this. The commander roared. Jason kicked hard. Lacey turned, fired her stunner point blank. Vex went limp. They climbed. Into the shaft, crawling through smoke and darkness. Emerging into a city transformed. Novice had woken up. Crowds filled the streets. Enforcers were overwhelmed. Banners of protest hung from rooftops. The people were rising. At the center of it all, executions had been halted. Eldon stood with resistance fighters, shielding those who had been condemned. Jason and Lacey arrived, just in time to see Governor Pox appear atop a platform surrounded, but still composed. You think a broadcast will change anything? Pox sneered. I still hold the power. He raised a remote. One press, and the food warehouses burn. You'll starve before winter ends. The crowd gasped. Then, a blur of blue crashed into Pox's side era, the little girl from the hollow. The device flew from his hand. Jason. Dove caught it mid-air. He stood, towering over the fallen governor. It's over, Pox. Surrender. Pox sneered, drawing a concealed blade. They fought, against fist, brutal, close. Jason took a cut to the shoulder, but landed a solid punch. That drove Pox to the platform's edge. The governor rose for one last strike, then jerked as a stunner hit him from behind. Lacey stood, weapon lowered. I wasn't taking chances. The crowd surged forward. Weapons fell. Enforcers fled. People cheered. Novice had risen, and a human who once gave up a bowl of stew had led them there. Asterisk. The cold still clung to the stone walls of what had once been Governor Pox's palace, but the air inside had changed. Gone was the suffocating presence of a dictator's will. In its place was something raw, unpolished but real. Hope. Jason stood on the balcony of the central hall, overlooking a plaza that just days ago had been the site of public executions. Now it teemed with life families emerging from hiding, food stations distributing rations from the reclaimed warehouses, and laughter, genuine laughter, echoing in the air like birdsong returning after a long, bitter winter. Beside him stood Lacey, dressed not in the rebellion's muted garb, but in the ceremonial white and silver robes of a Navyian, matron, her hair cascading down her back like a banner of renewal. You've been quiet, she said, her voice barely above the breeze. Turned to her, still adjusting. 1 minute I'm stealing stew from my own stomach. Next I'm standing where a tyrant once gave death orders. You earned it. I never asked for any of this, he said quietly. Lacey reached for his hand. The best leaders never do. Below, the newly elected Transitional Council convened. A mix of Navians from every district, workers, healers, teachers, even a few elders from the outer tribes. And Jason, still feeling awkward in the ceremonial sash he'd been given, was now their first consul, the first off-worlder ever to hold political power on Novice. He had resisted, of course, But when the vote came, the people's voices had been loud and unified. The food giver would be their guide. Dr. Clay's shipment just came through, Lacey said, changing the subject. Medical supplies, power cells, even portable fusion generators. Terra Nova's keeping their promises. Jason gave a tight nod. Some of them didn't know. Some probably didn't care. But I think Clay's doing what she can, and you've given them a reason to listen. He didn't respond right away. His eyes drifted to the horizon, where the frozen mists of Navis were beginning to break beneath the pale light of spring. The thaw had started, so had everything else. That evening, the council chamber filled not with politicians, but with children. The ones from the Hollow arrived first era among them, bold as ever, holding the hands of two younger ones Jason had never seen before. Behind them, kids from the outer sectors, from the resistance shelters, and even a few former enforcer families who had defected when the truth came out. Jason knelt as they rushed him. Is it true? One girl asked, You're going to build schools for every district? And warm food centers where no one gets turned away? Era added, folding her arms. Jason smiled. Yes to both. A cheer broke out, echoing through the stone chamber. Lacey stood nearby, watching with a smile that softened her features. Jason caught her eye over the children's heads, and for a moment, the chaos of the world faded. This was why they had fought. These tiny hands and bright eyes was why it all mattered. Later, in their private quarters deep within the old palace, Jason peeled off his sash and slumped onto the edge of the bed. I'm exhausted. Lacey moved behind him, running her fingers through his hair. You stood through a 6-hour council session, then wrestled with economic reconstruction. Plans, then promised a dozen kids you'd fix the entire world. He leaned back into her touch. So, just another day. She laughed softly. Jason Thorne. From food giver to planetary leader. He turned to face her. I never wanted to lead anything. She tilted her head. And yet, when people needed you, you stood up. That's what makes a leader. He stared into her eyes. What about us? Where do we stand in all this? Lacey sat beside him. I've been thinking about that. Yeah? She drew a small crystal from a pouch at her waist. It shimmered with soft blue light. In Navyian culture, we mark life bonds with this, the joining of two spirits who have chosen to walk together, not just lovers partners, in heart, in battle, in peace. Jason took the crystal gently. You're proposing? I'm honoring what we already are. Jason smiled. On Earth, we do something similar. We call it marriage, usually with rings, awkward dancing, and terrible cake. She arched a brow. Do you require the cake? I can live without it. She leaned in and kissed him. No. Urgency, no fire. Just warmth, permanence, belonging. A few nights later, under the stars of a healing world, they held a quiet bonding ceremony on the balcony. No speeches, no dress uniforms. Just close friends, candlelight, and the sound of a city exhaling after holding its breath for two. Long Eldon gave the blessing. Trick provided the worst toast in the history of other species. The children threw. Flowers made of scrap cloth dyed blue and white. Jason and Lacey exchanged oaths in both their languages, binding themselves not just to each other, but to the people who had made their bond possible. In the days that followed, they rebuilt not just structures, but trust. Jason oversaw food distribution centers in every major district. He pushed for universal education with bilingual instruction to blend cultures. He formed a diplomatic committee to liaise with Earth, and with Dr. Clay's help, negotiated a trade alliance built on transparency and equity. Navis would never be the same. It would be better got. And as Jason stood one morning overlooking a crowd gathered for the dedication of the first interspecies school, Lacey's hand in his. He knew he had found something greater than redemption. He had found a home. Asterisk. The council archives were quiet, save for the soft humming of old data cores and the rustle of Lacey's robes as she moved between shelves. Most of the building had been repurposed, converted into public space for rebuilding governance. But this chamber had been preserved. Deep beneath the palace, behind sealed doors and biometric locks, once reserved for Pax's inner circle, the archives held records that had never seen the light of day. Jason stepped through the doorway, brushing frost from his shoulders. "You said you found something?" Lacey turned, her expression unreadable. She held a data slate in her hands, its holographic display shimmering faintly in the low light. "You might want to sit down." That got his attention. Jason moved to the central console, and Lacey placed the slate on the reader pad. A series of encrypted files flickered to life-old messages, DNA logs, classified transmissions from over a decade ago. At the center of it all, a file tagged Project Symbiosis. He frowned. This ... this is Terra Nova's logo." "It's more than that," Lacey said, voice quiet. "These records Pax wasn't just planning a corporate evacuation. He was hiding the truth about you." Jason looked at her. "What do you mean, me?" She gestured toward the holographic interface. "You were selected by Terra Nova for this assignment, not just because of your technical skills. You were flagged for something else." The display shifted, revealing a DNA strand, highlighted sections blinking in amber. Jason's breath caught. "That's my genetic code." "It's a rare human sequence," Lacey said. "They called it dormant symbiotic compatibility. Genetic markers that match baseline Navyian sequences at an astonishing percentage. You're not just compatible with our physiology. You're linked on a deep evolutionary level." Jason took a step back. "Are you saying I'm part Navyian?" "No, but you might be part of something older," Lacey said. "These logs reference ancient terraforming projects. Experiments, long before Navis was colonized. There were theories that a parent race seeded life across multiple worlds, including humans and Navians. These markers? They're remnants of that shared ancestry." Jason stared at the screen, heart pounding. "I thought I was just ... A guy, a broken-down mechanic with a past he didn't talk about." Lacey stepped forward. "You are. But you're also living proof that our species are more than just allies. We are connected, in the deepest way possible." He ran a hand through his hair. "Why would Terra Nova care about that?" "Because it made you the perfect liaison," she said. "Someone who could move between both worlds, win trust, rally support, and never even know why." Jason turned away, jaw clenched. "So this whole thing, me being here, giving up that stew, was part of someone else's plan?" Lacey reached out, touched his arm. "No, that part was all you. Whatever they intended, you chose to act with compassion. You chose to lead. No DNA sequence can force that." Silence settled between them. After a long moment, Jason exhaled. "We tell the people?" Lacey hesitated. "If we do, it could fracture things. Some will see it as destiny, others as manipulation. It could undo everything we've built." Jason nodded slowly. "Then we don't tell them." "Not now. Not while we're still healing." She nodded. "When the world is ready, the truth will wait." Weeks passed. Spring crept slowly across Novice, turning frost to meltwater, bitter wind to clean breeze. The people worked side by side, human and Navyian, planting the first crops in thawed soil, rebuilding bridges both literal and symbolic. Jason stood in the central forum, overlooking a school under construction. Children played in the scaffolding, laughing. Among them was Era, proudly wearing a sash with the Resistance's emblem sewn by her own hands. Beside him, Lacey leaned into his shoulder. "You haven't told me what you're going to do with your ceremonial title." she said. First consul is a bit ... formal, Jason smirked. I was thinking of giving it back to the council. Let someone else do the handshaking and trade negotiations. And you? I'll stay here, he said. Help build, teach, listen. Lacey smiled. And when the next crisis comes? He met her gaze. Then I'll stand beside you, like I always do. That evening, a message arrived from Earth. Dr. Clay's voice flickered through the comms, tired but hopeful. The board finally ratified the ethical charter. All extraction operations suspended. Full reparations underway. And Jason. They? Scans you sent from Project Symbiosis? You were right not to go public yet. But one day, you'll have to. The truth could change everything. Maybe even fix what's broken across the stars. Jason turned off the message and stared out the window at the stars above Novice. He thought of the stew, the children, the woman beside him, the fire they had lit together. He thought of a future that had almost been stolen, and he smiled. Asterisk, sometimes. Revolutions begin not with weapons nor speeches, but with a single act of kindness. A bowl of stew, a spark, a human, and the alien girl who saw in him something more. Their future began that day, and it would light 1,000 more. Asterisk.